Um, Hi, coders, fellow coders. Uh, so I'm gonna be showing my code. I'll explain it and then I'll sample what it looks like after I explain certain parts of it. So I started off by creating this variable called number of enters with the value of 0, and then this function which takes number of enters as an argument, or it asks if the number of enters is less than 100, then print nothingness, print an enter, and then add 1 to the value of number of enters because you just printed an enter, so it should add 1. So this function is called hide secret word. So this is actually code for the Hangman. Uh, so the reason I created this function is so that when you type in your secret word, it hides it so that your guesser doesn't see the word already in the code. So it hides it just by disguising it with a ton of enters. And yeah, so then in line 10, I create the secret word variable and give it the value of this input, which asks, what is your secret word? Type in lowercase letters. So, whoa, I did not mean to delete it. So for the sake of the video, I will uh let me go full screen. Um okay, is I'm pretty sure that you can see it. So uh if the secret word, if I give the secret word variable the um well, I'm just drawing a blank, the value of hello, the word hello. So I'll type that in the comments for it. So that's what I'm gonna give it to. And then I'll hide the secret word with a ton of enters. So here's that looks like. What is your secret word? Type in lowercase letters. Hello. And you can see it hides it with just a ton of enters, and you can see the next question at the bottom because all the enters are on top of it. So after I create that, then I create this variable called mistake counter, and that's to count your number of mistakes. And I started off with 0 because if you're just starting the game, you don't have any mistakes yet, uh, if you ever will. And then I create this variable called total guesses, and I give it the value of this empty list, and that's gonna hold all of your guesses for the whole game. So that's what that list is for. And then I'll create a while loop, which is gonna continuously ask you like what your guess is until you win or lose. So then I make it while true because true is never false, true is always true. So that means that this while loop will run forever unless I say otherwise in the code inside of it. So then inside it, I create this list called the secret word list. So that's basically gonna hold all of the letters for each letter in the list. I mean, in the secret word. So since the word is hello, if all the letters are guessed correctly, then all the items in the secret word list will be H, and then E, and then a string that's L, and then a string of another L, and then a string of the letter O. So now that I've established that, we go into this for loop right here. So for letter in secret word, so we're basically creating this variable called letter, and we're saying that this letter is definitely in secret word. So since it's in secret word, we're gonna ask if letter in total guesses. So it goes through each letter of the secret word because we're not sure what this variable letter, what part of it is inside secret word. We're just saying that it is. So it's gonna go through each letter for all the code that's inside this for loop. So we're starting out with the letter H. So right now the letter variable is given the value of H. So if I rerun the code, because shrink it, you have to rerun it every time. So hello, that's the secret word, and I'll just say that my guesses are H. So that's my first guess. So now the total guesses holds the letter H, and for the letter H, it's gonna ask if H is in total guesses. So now it is because I just guessed it. And then well, actually, at this point in the code, when it's first going through this while loop, the H hasn't actually been guessed yet. So I'll get to that later, but let's imagine that the H has been guessed so far. So if H is in total guesses, which it is now, it's gonna say secret word list. Well, actually, let's just not say the H is there because I haven't gotten to the guess yet. Okay, so if the letter H, because that's the first letter in secret word, if that's in total guesses, which it's not, no letters have been guessed yet, then append the letter to the secret word list. So add the letter H to the secret word list, but that's only if it's in the total guesses, which it's not yet. So then we're gonna go to the elif. We're gonna ask, is the letter a space? So there's no spaces in hello. So so the letter H isn't equal to a space. So it won't do this line, which is append a space. Um, and so it'll just go to the else statement or the else function, no else statement, and it'll append an underscore because that is the only other choice for it to do since it's not a space, the letter H isn't a space, and it's not in total guesses. So it'll just append this underscore to the whole secret word list. Now it's going to go to the letter E and ask if it's in total guesses. It's not. Nothing has been guessed yet. It's going to ask if it's a space, which it's not. So it's gonna ignore this code, and then it's going to go to the else, which is the last resort, and it's going to append an underscore for the letter E. Then it's going to go to the letter L, and it's going to ask if that's in total guesses. Nothing has been guessed yet, so it's not. It's going to ask if the letter L is a space, which it's not, and then go to the else statement, the last resort, and append another underscore. Then for the next letter L, it's going to do the same thing, where it's going to skip over this code because it's not in total guesses, skip over this code because it's not equal to a space either, and then go to this code because this is the last resort, and append another underscore. Then for the letter O, the last letter in hello, it's gonna do the same thing. It's gonna skip over this code because it's not in total guesses. It's gonna skip over this code because it's not a space, and it's gonna go to the last resort else statement and append an underscore. So you can see that right there, that first print in the output is 5 underscores. So that's one for each letter: H, uh, E, L, L, O, and nothing has been guessed yet, so that's why it's all underscores. So then we're going to create this variable called correct guesses, which is the same thing as the secret word list. But the thing is, we're going to join all the items that are in the secret word list with a space right here. And that's what this variable correct guesses is. So it's not equal to the string H, and then the string E, and then the string L, the string L, and then the string O. It's equal to all of those joined together with a space. So then it's going to print correct guesses, and you can see it prints it prints each item with the space in between each item. So we got the underscore for H, and then a space, and then an underscore for E, and then a space, and then an underscore for L, and then a space, and an underscore for the other L, a space, and then an underscore for the O. Now, it's gonna ask if if there's no more underscores in the secret word list, then print you win because that means that you've guessed all the letters, and then it's gonna break from the for loop. But that's only if there's no more underscores in the secret word list. So it's gonna break this while loop and then leave it, and the code will end. But so far, there are still underscores in the list. So then it's going to print and enter. I just like printing the enter every now and then because it keeps everything more organized. Now I'm going to print your guesses so far are, or I'm going to print your guess so far, colon, and then display the amount of correct of guesses. And so that's just the string version of this total guesses list. I have to turn it into a string with this string function because you can only concatenate a string and a string. You can't concatenate a string with a list, which concatenate just means like add together. Then I create this variable called guess, which is what you see right here. What is your guess? One letter at a time, H. So I create this variable guess and I give it the value of this input function asking what is your guess one letter at a time. I put the one letter at a time just because it makes it easier to type the code. So for our guesses, what we are going to guess is the letter H, then the letter Z, then the letter L. I'll get to that in a second once I'm done reviewing all of the code. So our first guess you see was H, so it assigns that to the guess variable right away, but not just yet. So then if guess is in total guesses, it's going to ask if that letter H that we just assigned a guess, if that's in total guesses, which it is because we just added it to total guesses as we guessed it. Then print, you've already guessed this before. Oh wait, it's not there yet because we actually haven't appended it to the list yet. So if it's already in the total guesses, then that means you've already guessed it. So it's going to print, you've guessed this before, try again. And then it's going to do that /n for the enter again to keep everything organized, just to easier to tell where you are. So then, but if it's not, if the guess isn't in the total guesses, then that means that this is a totally new guess. So it's going to add this guess to the total guesses by appending it to the total guesses list. Then it's going to ask if guess is in secret word. If guess is in the secret word, so if the letter H is in the word hello, then print that guess was correct, and you see that it prints your guess was correct. But if the guess is wrong, if it's not in the secret word, then it's going to add 1 to your mistake counter because you just made a mistake, and then it's going to print your guess was incorrect. And then it's going to show a sad face because that's not good to get a wrong answer. And then it's going to add this string version of mistake counter. So again, you see we're putting this string function around this variable, around another variable. So mistake counter, we're putting it around, or we're putting a string function around it because we have to turn it into a string. Again, we can only concatenate a string with a string, not a string with an integer, which in this case, the mistake counter is an integer. So we have to make it into a string in order to concatenate it or add it with this other string that says your guess was incorrect, sad face. And then we have to add, we have to say that it's out of 7 because you can only get 7 wrong guesses. So however many guesses you got out of 7, or however many mistakes you've gotten out of 7, that's how many, that's basically just to tell you how much mistakes that you can take left. So now we're gonna go on to line 72, which has nothing to do with this. I mean, it has to do with it, but it's not on the conditions that it's not in the secret word. It's like a whole separate thing. So if this if statement were inside the else statement, it would have another indent, but it doesn't because it's outside of this else statement. So I just want to make it clear that they are separate. So it's going to ask if your mistake counter, so if the number of mistakes that you have is equal to 1, then print, and then it's going to print this little hangman's noose ready to hang someone. And then as you get more mistakes, it's going to continue to add more of the hangman until you get to the bottom where it's only his legs. So I'll just go through this quick. So if your mistake counter isn't 1 and it's actually 2, then it's gonna add the head now to the noose. And if it's 3, if you have 3 mistakes, then it's gonna start to add the torso. Now, if you have 4 mistakes now, it's gonna add the right arm, or maybe it's the left arm. I don't know which way the hangman is necessarily facing. It doesn't have a face. So if the mistake counter is equal to 5, so if you have 5 mistakes now, it's gonna add the other arm, the second arm. And if the number of mistakes is 6, then it's gonna print one leg. And if the number or it's gonna print the whole body plus the leg plus one leg. And then if the mistake counter is equal to 7, which this is the last mistake that you can get, then it's gonna have the whole body being hung, and it's gonna print you lose because you got all 7 of the mistakes. And well, not necessarily saying that there's only 7 mistakes that you can make. It's just once you get 7, then you lose. So then it's gonna do this break function, and it's going to leave the while loop, and the code will end. But let's say you don't ever get to this 7, or not necessarily you don't get to it because it's a while loop, so it goes on forever. But in some of the loops, when you don't have 7 mistakes, then it'll go on to this line 132, and it's going to ask if your guess is equal to the secret word. So if you actually guessed the whole word, then it's just going to print you win right on the spot, and it's going to break from the loop, and it's going to end the code. So then the game will be ended. So now I'm gonna go back to this guess variable. So as I was saying, I was gonna get to these letters. So right, I'll explain it for this for loop. That's what I'm explaining it for. So let's run this. So the secret word is hello, as we established. Well, it doesn't have to be hello, but for this example, it's going to be hello. Now our first guess is H. So now you see it prints your guess is correct, and it says the H underscore 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 underscore, and it says, or then it asks you what your next guess is, but you can see that it also adds your guess to the total guesses. So in this for loop, it's gonna say for letter in secret word, for the letter H, that's the first letter that's gonna ask. If that's in secret word, then ask if H, because that's the current value of letter, ask if H is in total guesses, which it is now, you can see. And since it's there, it's going to append this letter, which is currently H, to the secret word list, and then it'll just skip over this because this is no longer needed. Now it's going to move on to the next value of letter, which is E. So it's going to ask if E is in secret word, and it's not. So then it's or no, it's which it is, and then or it's not asking, it's saying that it is. So E is in secret word. Now, if letter is in total guesses, if E is in total guesses, which is not so far, then it's just gonna go to the else statement, and it's gonna append an underscore, and you can see that there's that underscore right there. It's gonna do this for the letter L also, so it's not in total guesses, or it's not a space, so it's just gonna append another underscore. And then the next letter L, it's gonna do the same thing. It's gonna skip over the total guesses because it's not in that, and it's not a space either. So it's just gonna append another underscore. And then the letter O, it's not in total guesses either. So then it's gonna ask if it's a space, and it's not either. So then it's gonna append an underscore to the secret word list. Now let's say, oh sorry, every time you have to restart trinket just so it doesn't mess up. So now I have the word hello again, and let's say I guess the letter Z now. Now you see it printed that hangman's noose, ready to hang someone. And it says your guess was incorrect, 1 out of 7. And it still says the same thing. The reason it still says the same thing is because as it continues to go through this for loop, for letter being each individual letter in the secret word, which is hello, currently, it's gonna you're gonna notice that the letter Z is not anywhere in the word hello, and the code will notice that too. Um, please be quiet. Sorry. If so, it's gonna ask if the letter H is in total guesses again, and it's not. So it's gonna ask, or it is in the total guesses because that was your first guess. So then it's gonna append the letter H to the secret word list. Then it's gonna go to the letter E, and that's not in the total guesses either. Um, so then it's gonna ask if it's a space. E is not a space. So then it's gonna append an underscore. Oh my gosh. And then it's gonna ask if the letter L is in total guesses. It's not. And then it's gonna ask if the letter L is a space. And then it's not. So it's gonna append another underscore. The other letter L, it's gonna do the same thing. So it's just gonna append another underscore. And then for the letter O, it's not in total guesses. So far, only H and Z are. So then it's going to ask if the letter O is a space, and it's not, so it's going to append another underscore. So that's why you can see that the secret word list, or actually this right here, is correct guesses. That's the name, that's this variable right here that's being printed. You can see that it didn't say HZ underscore underscore or any other permutation with the letter Z in one of those four underscores. So that's how you know that the code knows that the letter Z isn't anywhere in here. And you can see that I also printed the Hangman's Noose because right here in this else, guess Z is not in secret word, so it's gonna add one to the mistake counter. And if mistake counter is one, which it currently is after printing Z, it's gonna print that. So the code is working good so far. So now for the word hello, it's gonna I'll just do H and then Z again. But now I'll do the letter L. So now the total guesses has the letters H, Z, and L. So in this for loop, it's gonna ask if the letter or for the letter in secret word. So it starts off the loop with letter being equal to the letter H. And if H is in total guesses, which it is, then it's gonna append the letter H to the secret word guesses, to the secret word list. So now it's going to skip over the rest of this code, and then it's going to go back and say now the letter E, now the value of letter is the letter E. So it's going to ask if the letter E is in total guesses. It's not, only H, Z, and L are. So it's going to ask if the letter E is a space. It's not. So it's going to append an underscore into the secret word list. So now it's going to be the letter is going to be equal to the letter L. So it's going to ask if L is in total guesses, which it is. So it's going to append the letter L to the secret word list and then skip over this code. And now it's going to be the letter L again, the second letter L. So it's a different L. And it's going to say if L is in total guesses, which it is still, it's going to append the letter L to the secret word list. So now you have H underscore LL, and then the letter O, or letter is equal to the string O now. So it's going to ask if O is in total guesses, which it's not. So it's going to ask if if O is a space, which it's not. So it's going to go to the else statement, and it's going to append this this underscore. And then when we go to correct guesses, now it's going to just join all those together with a space. So it prints out what it should. H space underscore space L space underscore space. I only have the spaces in between because when all the underscores are touching, it makes it harder to identify how many letters are in the secret word for the guesser. So yeah, that's how my code works, and thank you for your time.